It's draft season with April around the corner. Who are the Bengals going to draft? We'll talk about a number of prospects coming up next on the Wincinnati Podcast.
It's exciting time to be a Bengals fan.
Welcome to the Wincinnati Podcast. I'm Ace, he's Zim. If you guys are watching this video and you're new here, please feel free to hit that subscribe button. We truly appreciate that. That helps grow the channel, and give this video a like. We are here to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals draft. So if you have clicked on this video is for you. We have not talked about the draft at all. Zim pointed that out to me. He was like, bro, we got to talk draft. We have all been wrapped up in this T. Higgins, this Jamar Chase. Trey Hendrickson still isn't signed, even though some sources have said it was going to be done. That's still looming out there. However, we need to talk about the draft. So before we get into that, partner, how you doing? How you feeling about this draft? And just how is your day going right now in Zen World?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I came off of if y'all don't know, me and Ace both are coaching and getting young ones together playing basketball. I had an up and down weekend, won some games, lost some games, so I'm still living off of that. But I definitely am really, really happy I got out there and was coaching a lot this weekend. So that was really, really fun. Off of that, I mean, I just think some of the news that we're going to talk about was Zac Taylor earlier today. I'm not going to say it bummed me out. I'm a little disappointed, but we'll get into that. Aside from that, everything's good to go. You know what I mean? I'm still living off the high of Jamar Chase and T. Higgins signing together at a press conference. Like, to me, I know that we're right now living in the moment, but I don't think a lot of y'all not going to forget that for the rest of your lives. And I don't think sometimes we get caught up in so much other stuff that we want to happen that we forget to really hone in on some positives. And I'm telling y'all, the same way I remember that Geno Atkins and that Dunlap presser together, you're for sure never going to forget whether this goes amazing or not. That was a special moment. And I'm still in the back of my mind, I'm like, that really happened, bro.
It really happened. I mean, now it feels good to not have to worry about it anymore. I know the trade thing is still lingering out there, but we and you talked about the T. Higgins situation. We talked about you and your team trying to go through this tournament this past weekend. So I'm getting ready to crank that back up again as well. Basketball season is among us, but draft season is why we're here. You kind of talked about something that was a very key topic, which was Zac Taylor and his comments. Zac Taylor says that they're done signing guards in free agency. This is what it is. I knew something was up when the Jackson Kirkland joint dropped. We got guards at home. That's what Zac was saying. I personally think, here's my thoughts on it. So when they couldn't get Mekhi Becton, when they couldn't get Will Fries, when they didn't get any of those guys, I'm going to be honest, bro. I know Tevin Jenkins is a hot name because a lot of people wanted him from the draft. The only reason I was against Tevin Jenkins was the back. I can't have somebody that I cannot depend on at the guard position. He ends up signing a 1-year, $3 million deal with the Browns. His back is messed up, bro. There's no way. That's crazy. That's crazy. But I'm going to be honest with you. Once we got down to the options that we had, not that I wouldn't want some of them, but I just kind of felt like this is leaning towards the draft to me. The only thing that's scary, though, is that the Bengals needed not one, but 2 guard positions. So, which you only have in 6 picks in this draft, which we'll get into later. Who are you really marching out there that you can really depend on? And I think that's why everybody has an issue with it. You said that you were sad. Were you sad about the guard comments? Was that what you were sad about?
Yeah, I was disappointed. I wasn't sad. I was just disappointed because I want them to come into this draft with an open, clean slate and to be able to say, hey, look, we could draft whatever we want. Now, I will point out a lot of teams do go with this philosophy of we can draft a guy and then afterwards we can come back because there are 3 or 4 other options. In this example, Sheriff, Reisner, and guys like that are available. Like, and maybe they know more than we do. There's also another point, and someone told me that Sheriff and Reisner both have stated that if they are to continue playing, they don't want to be in a situation where a team is drafting a guy that they have to battle with. They want their jobs like pretty much given to them. They've earned their stripes, so to speak, not in the Bengals form. But there are guys and veterans that you'll see like that. I'm pretty sure Calais Campbell is the same way. It's like he probably wouldn't mind another guy being there, but he wants to know that if you're going to take all that time and pour all that energy into it, you need to make sure that I'm in the best situation. And I think a lot of fans aren't thinking about like, man, just go sign Sheriff. He might say, yeah, if I'm signing with you, do not draft another guard because I'm starting at guard. And if you draft that dude, I'm not trying to battle with him. I'm 30-something years old. Like, I don't, you know that. But in my mind, I wish they could just get a Sheriff and then go from there. And then after that, you know what I mean, go to the draft with the open slate. You could come back. Now, Bengals might know some info that we don't know. Come back right after the draft and go do their La'el Collins version of what they've been doing. Go get their Trent Brown version of what they've been doing. They might do that after the draft. To me, that's backwards, but we don't know all the details.
Nah, for sure. We don't know what all the details are. The details are this, like Mr. Whisper just said. I know that they say you don't draft for need, but we have a ton of needs. And that's the thing. We don't have that many picks. So with them needing possibly, I think the way that I think that the Bengals are looking at this, and I hate to say it, bro, I think the Bengals really think that they only need one guard. I think they feel like if they have some kind of contest between Cody Ford and Cordell Volson, I think they really think in their Bengals twisted minds of thinking like, yeah, bro, we can get Scott Peters to take them to a whole nother level. Like, that's the issue. And to me, like, and to you, I also feel like we feel like the issue might be a personnel issue, not that that these guys, like, it's a coaching issue. It might be a personnel issue at this point. So I just think that that's risky, especially with the Bengals having needs at other positions. So with that being said, let's get into some of, unless there was anything else. Was there anything else you wanted to touch on that Zac Taylor talked about earlier today? Because I felt like the guard conversation was a big one, but I didn't know if there was anything else that you felt like he didn't really touch on the Trey situation. He kind of like moved around it. He kind of says Jermaine Pratt is on the team for now. Was there anything else that you took away that you kind of felt like was an important topic from Zac Taylor?
I thought that it was encouraging to say that the contract negotiations are still in that process. I'm not quoting his exact words, but the negotiations in the process of that Trey Hendrickson one. Now, this could change on draft night. There could be a team right before, you know, that first round is over and Commanders see all those edge rushers or somebody go. Eagles might see all those edge rushers go, and they might call up. So you can't ever rule that out. I don't care what reports come out. Because you have to think, if I'm the Bengals, I want to make it clear to everybody, this dude is super valuable to me. So don't think you're coming in with a second, third round pick. I'm telling you right now, we're in negotiations with him. You don't like it, kick rocks. And that's the way most of our fan base feels. But I'm telling y'all, if a team comes in draft night that doesn't get their guy, Mike Green, Pierce goes off the board, you know, all the other kids that, you know, like are going to be at the top. If those guys go, there might be a team that gives them a phone call. And I think Zach's still probably putting it out there about the negotiations. I do believe him, but Zac Taylor isn't a decision maker either.
Nah, he isn't. He isn't a decision maker at all. We'll see how it goes going forward. One thing that I wanted to bring up and we wanted to talk about tonight is just viewing the visits that the Bengals have had set up thus far in some kind of capacity. So at the scouting combine, they met with center Jonah Monheim out of USC. They met with center Jared Wilson out of Georgia. They met with cornerback Trey Amos out of Ole Miss. They met with Will Johnson out of Michigan. Mike Green, as Zim just mentioned, out of Marshall. They met with him. They met with Colin Oliver at Oklahoma State. James Pierce Jr., another guy that Zim mentioned. Nick Scouton out of Texas A&M. Shamar Stewart, a guy that has a lot of athleticism, not much production. We'll get into that later. Michael Williams from Georgia. Walter Nolen from Ole Miss. These were guys that they talked to at the combine. Other guys that have also joined that list, Tate Ratledge, we kind of talked about guards that they could be potentially looking at. Jackson Slater from Sacramento State. Deion Walker, a defensive tackle from Kentucky. Logan Brown, an offensive tackle from Kansas. I mean, the list goes on. Ashton Genty, that's something that me and Eric will be happy to hear about. They met with him at the combine. Malaki Starks is another person that people are kind of talking about. Tyler Warren, the tight end. Mason Taylor. So these were mostly the combine guys. Emeka Egbuka, I know somebody in the comments talked about that. Pat Bryant, another wide receiver. They've met with a lot of different receivers and things of that nature. However, they do also have pre-draft visits that they've also gotten scheduled as well. An interesting one is Nick Emmanwori, the safety out of South Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
An offensive tackle from Oregon. Nick Martin, a linebacker from Oklahoma State. That one was a little puzzling for me because Nick Martin is more of a late round kind of guy. However, they are bringing him in, especially you kind of talk about the situation with Jermaine Pratt. I would imagine if they did try to get a linebacker, it would be somebody higher than that. But those are the guys that they have essentially looked into thus far. Was there anybody that you saw on the top 30 visits or of the combine? I know we could be saying like 30 or 40 names. I didn't want to say every single.
Yeah. You name most of the guys that I've been paying attention to a lot as far as like those reports been going. I think you nailed it. If we're missing any, tell us in the chat. Like I thought it was really important, and I think Ace was running it off because we've been so caught up in like everything else. We hadn't really been talking about the visits as much. So that was the reason why we wanted to get into those visits. Did you want to go into, because we hadn't really had this conversation? Mm-hmm. I think there's always two different conversations. It's always, what do you think the Bengals would do? Who do you think is, projected to go to the Bengals, and who do the Bengals select, versus the conversation of who would you pick at pick 17? And I feel like I have a bunch of guys that I like at the top. And I think we just need to eat. And I know everybody probably knows these guys by now, but that's where I wanted to go.
Yeah, go ahead. Kick it off.
Okay, so we could go back and forth. My number one guy that I keep on saying that, and everybody knows that I've been kind of standing on the table for this one. I don't know if the fit is 100% what I would want, right? For if I'm the Bengals. But I think he's the ideal build, super athletic, Jihaad Campbell from Alabama. That will be my.
I'm gonna stop you right here. If you guys want to hear more of this, we are cutting the feed from Twitter. We're gonna switch over to YouTube. Zim just said that his guy is Jihaad Campbell. So Zim, you go ahead and continue that. If, like I said, guys, find us on YouTube, Wincinnati. The stream will continue over there. We are about to cut the Twitter live feed right now.
Yes, sir. We appreciate everybody checking us out on Twitter. Please make sure you come over to YouTube. We need all the different subscribers. I've read a couple comments on here. It says the best podcast, best Bengals podcast in the world. Listen to these people that are talking. Make sure you come over to Wincinnati on YouTube. But Jihaad Campbell, I think he will be best to be a Sam linebacker in a 4-3 scheme. I think the anticipation stuff that I look for instinctually from the linebacker position, there are some things that are to be desired. But much like when Micah Parsons was coming into the draft, this guy has the ability to rush the passer as well. And he also has the toughness and the build and the size to be able to work in, in the linebacker scheme of all these things in our system. And the AFC North. He's got everything you want in the versatility. That would be my number one person that I think might be available at 17. We'll go through the list, but that's my first guy. Who is your first guy that you like?
Yeah, the first guy that I like is another name that's familiar to a lot of Bengals fans. I think he'll be there, especially given that he didn't work out. And he started off, I feel like this process is one of the top guys at the three tech defensive tackle position, and that's Walter Nolen. I mean, it's a guy that played in the SEC. He's fluid. He has a decent pass rush run weight, over 10+%. I think when I look at some of the missed tackle percentage, and I know some people are like, oh, these are pass rushers, and that's true. But at the end of the day, you're also a defensive tackle, and if you cannot tackle certain football players between the lines, you're only going to play on third down. Like you can't play on first and second down with the Lamar Jacksons and those guys of the world. And that's why I've still got Walter Nolen up there. I know that a lot of people talk about the character concerns and stuff like that, but the production doesn't lie. It's steady, it's consistent. And I think that he's that guy, like a Kalijah Kancey or someone like that the Bengals could look to add to this roster and immediately improve that three tech position. Yes, they have Chris Jenkins. Yes, they have BJ Hill, but they don't have someone of the Walter Nolen threshold that can actually rise the ceiling of that room. And I think Walter Nolen is a guy that definitely should be in the conversation at 17. And I think right now, the way things are playing out, he could be there at 17, I think, for the Bengals.
Absolutely. Walter Nolen, I think, started off in this process is probably one of the Bengals fans' favorites of this is the pick 17. I do think he'll be available. I think a lot of interior defense alignment is really tough for most teams that drafted that early because of the snap distribution. And because of that, I think that he'll be available. The Bengals, though, for whatever reason, I don't know. They haven't drafted. It's been a very long time drafted defensive line at the beginning. I will say this. My next guy that I would say I'm up there with Walter Nolen as well. But my next one is Mike Green from Marshall. He's only had 2 years of starting experience, but he can do whatever you need him to do against the run. He also can rush the passer at an absurd level. People have brought up his size and different things like that. I looked at his size versus TJ Watt, whatever, same build, same everything. So get that out your mind. Everything about this dude is ferocious. I talked to a friend of our show, Kyle Kasky, who went up against him in some form. I forgot what it was, and he was telling me how their experience against Mike Green. He was like, this dude is an animal. So many people behind the scenes I know have vouched for him. I know the character stuff will come off. I've heard that there's a lot of teams that have taken him off their board or taken him off their board. We'll see how that plays out a year after Jermaine Burton. That just happened with that situation. I don't know if the Bengals would do that. He was removed from a team before. But out of all the rushers, I watched a bunch of them over the last 2 weekends. Out of all the rushers, to me, he might be there's an argument that you could say that he might be the best rusher in the whole entire class.
Yeah, you're talking about a guy that finished a season with 17 sacks last season, and Mike Green. I have to agree with you. He's definitely on my list for sure as one of the top prospects in this draft. And I think if you go edge rusher, you keep a guy like Trey Hendrickson, you end up adding on a guy like him, Mike Green. I mean, a robust bag of pass rush moves, endless variety of ways to get to the quarterback. This is a little different than the Myles Murphy pick. I'm not speaking negatively about Myles Murphy, but this is a guy that has an assortment of pass rush moves. Myles Murphy needed to develop some of those. So I think that he's a guy that you could bring in, like you just said, on third downs to do his thing, kind of as that pass rusher that you need from that standpoint. So I'm going to keep it on the defensive side of things. One of the guys that I think a lot of people kind of talked about, and we kind of saw the advantage of a team having a guy like this, was Pat Surtain. And a guy that really reminds me of Pat Surtain from this class that has gotten some comparisons to him is Will Johnson. Now, the thing with Will Johnson is a lot of people are talking about the hamstring issues and stuff like that. I think that bodes well for the Bengals because this is a season or a draft where in typical years, a guy like Will Johnson, if he's fully healthy, he might go top 5. He might go top 10. But because of those concerns and him not really working out, this is a guy that can be a coverage versatility guy that can be a high-end starter in any coverage scheme or defense. We already know how Golden ran his defense in college. It's no secret that he liked to run a lot of man-to-man. You need elite corners for this defense. Will Johnson, to me, has the capability of bringing that to the Bengals. And I feel like if he is here in this range, you have to consider bringing in a guy like Will Johnson. We all know things go hand in hand when it comes to pass rush and coverage. Those things go hand in hand. If you have an elite corner, you are going to be able to help that pass rush get to the quarterback just because of that. We have what are called coverage sacks, right? The Bengals haven't gotten any in years because they don't have the secondary on the back end to allow that to happen. So attacking this another way outside of defensive interior, outside of pass rush, another way we can attack it is getting an elite corner. You also talk about that corner market kind of going up right now with them getting guaranteed money in terms of Stingley. You talk about him getting 3 years, $30 million a year. That market is going up. A good way to get a good corner that's elite and not have to pay that top tier $30 million of a year, draft one. And with Will Johnson, I just feel like right now, yes, I like Dax Hill. Yes, I like CTB. I'm not sold on them to the point where I would pass on a guy like Will Johnson to have here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I'm with you. Will Johnson was my first original draft guy that I was standing on the table for. And then I don't know if I just look at, I think CTB, if you give him a front, I think he's gonna look a lot better this season. I think them working on the different things that they're gonna be doing in the trenches, I think there's gonna be a lot more third and distance to help this defense out. I think CTB has shown when he's on, he could be one of the best guys. We were talking about him being an all-pro, and then I think Dax or DJ Turner, one of those guys is going to get that opportunity and they're going to take advantage of them. One of them is going to be the odd man out, and they're just going to end up walking. Like, that's just is what it is. But I think you got to play him, and then you still got DJ Ivy. Somebody had this tweet. I forgot who it was. I think his name is Chaston on Twitter or whatever. Shout out to him. But he said, man, call me crazy. I'm not down on this cornerback room. You make a really good point. You could never have too many corners. I even like Marco Wilson, at least his athleticism alone. Let me go on to the next one. But I wouldn't rule out Will Johnson at all. I think if he's there, you got to take him. At the same time, that I'm not going to say our cornerback room is stacked. There's a lot of guys there. The next one I'm going to go to is Malaki Starks. We haven't really talked I think I've been going trenches on most of on my I went linebacker, then I went trenches, but I'm gonna go to safety at this point now. Now Malaki Starks didn't test as like some athletic freak, but I do think one thing that he can do is play free. He does have the tackling ability. You're talking about a team that just came off of one of the worst tackling seasons in the first half of the season, and then they kind of regroup. But tackling is a big issue from this team for the last 2 seasons in my mind. And I think that he's a sure enough tackler. He's done it. They've seen the production in the SEC. 3 straight seasons he's done it. He's not a rare athlete. He's not incredible in that sense. But the playmaking ability, the IQ are a lot of like what you talked about when we got Jordan Battle. I think those 2 guys out there had the makings of being a star safety duo. You still can have packages for Geno Stone on his way out, or however they want to do it, where he's just coming in and 9 packages and pretty much playing outfielder. But you have 2 safeties that are good tacklers, very instinctive, and you would get the best safety in the draft if you were to draft Malaki Starks at pick 17.
Yeah, I'm not mad at Malaki Starks, and I'm not mad at looking at the safety position that early. The last time the Bengals did take one, it was Dax Hill. I'm going to go another direction, and I'm going to go with Nick Emmanwori. I think him being that safety, that box guy that you're talking about, that also has range, I think it's something that he could do as well. He's 6'3", 220. He's a guy that could be a good starter within the next 2 years. You kind of talked about a little bit of that uncertainty. You look at the production score from Next Gen Stats. He's the most productive safety of this class, ranked first. You talk about the athleticism. He's a 91. He ran a 4.38, so 43-inch vertical. So this is an athlete, but also has the smarts and the ability of playing at a high level. I watched some film on him. One of them he took back. I think it was a pick 6 or something like that. Some people say that he has shades of Jeremy Chin. And I think safety is something that is available. You talk about this guy having elite bend, speed, and versatility. That's something that this safety room lacks. And you have to also talk about, just because the Bengals drafted safety doesn't mean that they have to get rid of Geno Stone, right? Geno Stone played a role in Baltimore as the third safety. So there's still an ability for them to be able to add a safety to this room, play all three. You talk about Jordan Battle. I think he's cemented as a starter. I think you can play Geno in a certain role, and I think you could add Emmanuel to this team. He's also on a top 30 visit. So the Bengals are looking at safeties. Like, let's just keep it a buck right there. That is something that the Bengals are looking at. You talk about his wingspan and ball skills. He has ball skills, paws, like a 5-star wide receiver. That is what they're saying. So we're talking about a Jamar Chase type of guy on defense, or a T. Higgins, better yet, type of guy on defense that really just has some of those skills that you look for. And when you're talking about going against guys like Lamar Jackson and guys like that, Aaron Rodgers in this division, you're going to need some ball hawks to be able to turn the ball over. That was crazy. To turn the ball over and get your offense back to football. And the Bengals need someone like that.
I'm letting the football talk take precedent over this. I'm gonna be mature on this one tonight. The next one, I don't know if I'm really putting this in order, because I feel like a lot of the guys that you're naming probably guys I would have named too, and we're just going over like there are a lot of different options at pick 17 that I would be upset with. I really wouldn't. Like, no, there's nobody that you name where we'll get to those. All right, let's get to one I think is a hot name today too. Kelvin Banks, the tackle from Texas. Mm-hmm. This one is one that I think would be considered a safe pick. He would have to transition to guard. Now, his athletic profile as a guard, to me, is elite in that aspect. The problem, I think, with it is that I don't know what the board would look like if you're taking him, and we're going to do a mock later on in the episode. And we want everybody to make sure you chime in, make sure you send this to everyone, make sure you tell them to come to the Wincinnati Pod, and we want your input too when we do our mock draft. But the reason why the Kelvin Banks one kind of sticks out to me a little bit is because you didn't do what you should have did in free agency at the guard position. And so when you see him on the board, had they taken care of business in the trenches and gave me like a Calais Campbell or did some other different things in the trenches, maybe I wouldn't be that thirsty for defensive trenches up front. Now, say the board happens and I got Jihaad Campbell on the board, or I got Mike Green on the board, and then they select Kelvin Banks. It's not that I think that that's a bad pick. I just think the impact of a Mike Green, or we're going to get in, I'm pretty sure you might have James Pierce on your list too. Some of those guys, the impact that I think that they have on a team is really, really high. I'm not saying that Kelvin Banks wouldn't have that same impact. It just would feel a little forced. And generally, and the reason why is if you follow the history of the position, the guard position in the NFL, it's generally not even drafted until round 2 through 4. The only thing that they could do to kind of spin it is to pretty much say that Kelvin Banks could be the future left tackle after Orlando Brown Jr. is gone or something like that, which I'm not as intrigued with. I think the other kid, Simmons, is probably a better tackle in that aspect. He is coming off the patella tendon injury or whatever as well too, but I'm not sure about how I feel about that. But him as a guard, you pretty much, in my mind, would be getting probably one of the best guard prospects, if not the best. Ratledge later in the probably round 2, round 3 is my favorite guard, which I think you could get. Getting Banks in the first kind of reminds me a lot of Mims last year. A lot of people like myself weren't the craziest on it because at the board, I remember I liked Brian Thomas Jr. I wasn't sure about T. Higgins, but after the draft had settled, I said, you know what? We got to protect Joe Burrow. So anytime that you have an option to protect Joe Burrow, a guy like this, his arm length isn't elite, and that's the one knock I think, and I think that's why you want to move in the guard. So I don't know about the tackle later on, but he's an impact starter, day one guard. We wouldn't need another guard to go get out of free agency. It would be go get Brandon Sheriff and then have Banks at guard, and we're ready to go. And I feel like that would be the best offensive line that the Bengals ever had. Now, that's only contingent on the Bengals going to get another guard later on after free agency, like a Brandon Sheriff, Reisner, or somebody like that. Then you could say that. By just getting him and still leaving an open void of Volson, Lucas Patrick to battle out, it's still not that good to me. Like, I'm so tired of getting online and telling people about how great Joe Burrow is with the 30th best offensive line, like 5 years later. Come on, like let's get that together. But Banks is a guy that I think would he has the traits to be elite guard in the NFL.
Yeah, and I like Banks because he has the flexibility, because we're also talking about, we haven't talked about Marius Mims is still recovering from that injury. So we could be talking about, him having the hand injury, him not being able to be there. This may be a guy that you can put out there momentarily at right tackle and then slide him into guard as soon as Mims is ready to go. So that's something to keep in mind. And I remember friend of the show, Max Murphy, kind of talking about that. He was like, the Bengals need a tackle. Like, I know a lot of people aren't really talking about it. So a guy like Banks could possibly be able to swing between guard and tackle within the NFL and kind of be that piece that the Bengals may need there instead of them using the Cody Ford at that position. Got a super chat here from Mr. Whisper. He says, put Emmanwori in the spy and watch Lamar start to think twice about running. For sure. And that's what the Bengals have to do here. And I think they have to think out of the box. I think sometimes the Bengals get caught up in certain player builds. And I think a guy like James Pierce, which Zim kind of said, hint, Pierce, James Pierce is a guy, even though he doesn't have the weight that you traditionally look for, this is a guy that can rush the passer. He's got elite explosiveness off the line of scrimmage. He has pressure angles. He projects to be a star pass rusher at the next level. A lot of people are comparing him to Brian Burns. He may not be what the Bengals traditionally look for, but this is a guy that could be a potential double-digit sack guy. Played at Tennessee, played in the SEC. He can play and rush as a linebacker. You can have him as a hand-in-the-dirt guy. You can have him in a two-point stance. I think you could do a lot of different looks with him, but I think he's kind of up there with Mike Green. If you're not going to get a Mike Green, I know a lot of people are talking about Shamar Stewart. I would rather have Pierce over Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart is the athlete and stuff like that, but I'm rolling with Pierce here. What are your thoughts on Pierce, bro?
I love Pierce. I think the character stuff that's the conversation of what would the Bengals do versus what I would do. I don't know if they have the infrastructure for him. I don't know if they're going to kind of give him the resources. Like, that conversation just it makes me sick sometimes because we're not sick. It's exhausting because you have one trainer of mine that says be a pro, be mature. And then there are guys that come into the league that just aren't, that are super, super talented. And I see a lot of people will comment and they'll be like, yeah, I mean, he got to get his head, like talking about Burton or whatever, right? James Pierce is that times 100. And that's what the word is. And a lot of different people are rumored to say that he's off their board. The talent is.
And I get it. I just think from my perspective, like you said, are the Bengals going to do it? I mean, the Bengals took Jermaine Burton last season, guys. Like, if this was a situation where they passed on Jermaine Burton, I would say that they're not taking character guys at all. And we've seen them try to stray away from that, right? Go with the captains of the world and all of that. And sometimes it works out, but sometimes it doesn't.
But don't you feel like because it went so poorly and it's so fresh?
Yeah, I mean, yes and no. Would you take James Pierce in the first round? No, right? Like, if the character can,
I would.
I think this is why Jermaine Burton
was gone. I would.
I wouldn't, because if you're talking about 17 and you have 6 picks and there are other guys there with less flags, then I would do it. I could justify it in the second round. This, to me, really reminds me a lot of the Carlos Dunlap situation, right? Like, Carlos Dunlap, he had like the issue with the DUI at UF. It's no secret, right? He was supposed to be a first-round talent. He was a first-round talent. He fell in the draft because of that. What did the Bengals do? They picked him in the second round. If James Pierce, a guy that's supposed to be a first-round talent, the same logic that came with the Jermaine Burton thing. Jermaine Burton was supposed to be a low-end first-round talent. He had no business being there in the third round. Sometimes you have to roll the dice. And the Bengals have rolled the dice, not just with character, but in other ways with Jamar Chase. They rolled the dice, right? They took Jamar Chase. They didn't take Penei Sewell. As a result, Joe Burrow got hit a lot of times, but also as a result, they made the Super Bowl. So, like, you have to take risks sometimes where it happens. Now, this is where you have to trust the Bengals scouting department that is able to get this information on James Pierce and understand what those issues arose from and how they can kind of fix them at the next level. I understand you don't want to have a babysitter or something like that, but they need to look into what Marvin Lewis did, because somehow he was able to get Pac-Man Jones to work out right. Somehow he was able to make a reclamation project out of a lot of guys. Cedric Benson, like, let's not just act like guys that had character issues always turn bad. Rest in peace, Chris Henry. The Bengals had something back then where they were able to turn a lot of these guys around. You still had Odell Thurman. So you still had Jermaine Burton kind of situations. And I'm not here to say Jermaine Burton's story is completely written, but it's pretty clear that he had maturity issues last season. But I don't think the Bengals are in a position now to just be like, if this guy can really help us at an edge rush position or a cornerback position or an interior guard position, I don't think that they're in a space now with a Super Bowl window where they can afford to not take those swings on guys that could potentially be their next Pac-Man Jones. Think about what Pac-Man Jones did for this team. Like what he, now I know everybody's going to talk about the Steelers game, but let's talk about the Steelers game where he returned a punt for a touchdown. Let's talk about some of the plays that Pac-Man made that helped the Bengals become a better team. And if they didn't have him, where would they be at? You still have Brandon Tate as your punt returner. So for me, like, they got to take more chances, bro. And it's not even just with the character. It's with some of these guys that may have higher upside that they need to take a chance on just because they know, like a Ashton Genty, spoiler alert, like, yeah, take the chance, bro. Like you have to take chances in the draft, because maintaining the status quo, the Bengals haven't drafted well, guys. Like the other guys that are taking chances, yes, sometimes they flame out. Sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes you just Deshaun Watson your situation, right? But then sometimes you can also end up with a Micah Parsons, a guy that had a lot of red flags surrounding him heading into the draft. And look at him now. He's getting ready to be paid the highest edge rusher in the NFL.
Highest player in the NFL.
Highest player in the NFL. So to me, bro, you just got to take, if you do your research and your research comes back that this guy, I hate to say this, is not Aaron Hernandez. I don't want to, he's not Aaron Hernandez or something like that. Like, you got to take the chance, bro. I know everybody's not going to like that, but we're in a Super Bowl window, bro. And if Burrow and Jamar can reach these guys some type of way to let them, realize that winning takes a high priority over making the wrong mistakes, they got to do it.
I think also this is one thing that's lost in the sauce too. Even at Burton's floor, does everybody just forget that he was really good on returns as well? So like literally on like game day, you have your Charlie Jones, or I'm sorry, not Charlie Jones, the Trent Taylor replacement, the Trent Irwin replacement. Like his return ability, just in the brief 4 games or so that we saw, he was taking kicks back that looked like they were getting housed every single time. Yeah. And I think the disappointment from those missed opportunities, I think people are confusing the things that he didn't do well with the maturity of like just his everyday movement being a professional. I think they're confusing that with the actual talent and the little bit of production that he did have he did go beat Darius Slay in the Eagles game. He did go and have another big play at the beginning of the Chargers game. Like at the very beginning of that game, he had a good out. And then he also cooked somebody in the Chiefs game. And on the returns, I think he solves a lot. So like when people are like, yeah, I'm done with him, it's just two frames of mind. It's 2 frames of mind. Like to me, if he has success, then the Bengals don't have to waste a player on special teams. Like I have to root for that. And that's the part where I'm just like, now I can't coddle him and say like, bro, you're missing meetings.
Yeah, you can't be missing meetings. Like, you can't be not showing up and oversleep. Like we're not justifying that at all. We gotta grow up in that regard.
But I think I think that somewhere that got lost in the sauce a little bit is like his talent in the return game was so much better than Trent Irwin and Trent Taylor or whoever else that in itself, even if that's all they ever give him, that in itself makes him a viable option to get the ball at wide receiver 4 or 5. And you have a special teamer that's really good that knows what he's doing in those things. By saying that you're done with him or anything like that, it's setting you back for a team that only has 6 picks. We can't afford to operate like that. Like, I was watching a dude that was he's like an Eagles content creator. He was very critical. Now, Eagles just won a Super Bowl. He's very critical on how they paid Michael Huff. I had posted it in my story, but they had paid, Bryce Huff. They paid him all that money, and as a result, they didn't have any money to pay Chauncey Gardner. And Chauncey Gardner now has moved on. And he talked about how Chauncey Gardner now is creating this crazy void on their team. And I'm thinking, like, bro, they got all these picks and whatever, but everybody has picks or different decisions that they make a mistake on. And I think a lot of times all these fan bases out here, we all kind of forget that your problems are also somebody else's problems. If you really go listen to what other teams are saying, like the same thing that you think is just exclusive to the Bengals is happening to all 31 other teams. And I just think that a lot of people get caught up in like what they want a prototypical perfect Bengals team or prototypical team to look like. And it's not going to look like that. Everybody isn't going to have the character of a T. Higgins. Everybody isn't going to have the character of a Joe Burrow. But the players and the talent level, if we're going to get what we want to get to, I don't think we can't afford, we don't have enough talent on the roster to get there with a Trent Irwin. Just a guy that's really good at assignments, but the talent just isn't there. He was so poor on returns, it was scary. I thought they were going to kill that dude. He was getting returns and bringing back 1 yard. Burton comes out there, gets 20-something yards. Now, Burton doesn't listen to Burrow, doesn't do whatever. He got to get out of the way. But you have to be rooting for Burton to go crazy because that makes it so that you don't have to go to wide receiver in this draft. We don't have the luxury of drafting a wide receiver in this draft. We have 6 picks in a bad roster. You don't have the luxury of drafting a wide receiver. If they draft a wide receiver, I'll be a little pissed. Because
if they draft a wide receiver, that tells me they have zero faith in Jermaine Burton. I'm gonna just keep it a buck. If they take a wide receiver, I think in the first 3 rounds, like that would be crazy. Like I don't think that they need to, especially after what they've invested there. But if they were to do that, maybe even 4th round. Like, I'm like, what do they think of Jermaine Burton? Because I'm not going to lie, when we had Troy Walter on here, he didn't make it seem like Jermaine Burton was guaranteed a spot next year. He kind of seemed like, it's up to him. It's really up to him. Sure. And so, we haven't seen – luckily, he's been on the straight and narrow thus far that we know of this offseason. He was at the Lakers game, flicking it up.
But that's not – my overall point isn't that I'm Team Burton. I think we're on social media. Everybody does that. It's like you're forced to pick a side. I'm not saying that. I'm Team Bengals. The Bengals don't have the luxury nor the money if they're going to. Remember, we just did a special with Andre about how they just used the cap, and they don't really have cap space to go get a legitimate wide receiver, return specialist, all these different things, and they only have 6 picks. So, like, this notion that you're going to go find someone more talented than Burton, I just don't see it. And if you did see it, it would be in a draft. But keep in mind, as we're outlining it, we're almost done with our list. We need a linebacker. You're going to need a tight end at some point, whether it's a free agent or not. You lost Eric All and you didn't replace it. Gesicki is just a receiving threat, right? We think we need another running back at some point, whether it's the draft or UDFA or whatever. I'm not even going to count that. Then you need 2 guards, and you need a defensive tackle and an edge. That's 6 picks right there in itself. If you gave up one of those to a wide receiver, you're going to have a void at one of those positions with a bottom feeder level position. That's why Burton and guys like that, and when you make the decision to draft somebody like that, you have to really be like putting resources behind sticking with that pick if you're going to make that pick. Because if you don't, if you pick a wide receiver, what's the position that the person that's saying that you can't rely on Burton, cut Burton right now? What's the position group out of all the positions that I just named that you're willing to give up to go draft another wide receiver? What would you give up? You want to just go get one guard instead of two? You want to give up you no linebacker? We just roll back out there with Pratt? Are we going back out there with the tight end group of just Sample and Gesicki? To me, that's a bottom level tight end group. That's not good enough. They don't have a tight end that can block and receive. They still don't have that on the team.
Is there a tight end that you add to your list in this draft between pick 17 and 49?
Absolutely. Tyler Warren, which brings us to the Tyler Warren is a guy that does all the different things that I wanted Brock Bowers and company to do. I wouldn't do it at pick 17, and it would be hard to justify Tyler Warren at pick 17, knowing all the different holes on the roster that the Bengals do have. But if they had a grade on Tyler Warren, which I have a really high grade on Tyler Warren as well, if they had a grade on him that was really high and they thought it was above that and they liked this character better than James Pierce or Walter Nolen or whoever else you got, right? I could get behind it, bro. I think it takes our offense. It now gives you a little bit more run success, and it also gives you the receiving threat. And if Eric All had 400 plus yards or something, whatever he had, or 200 some yards in his offense, Tyler Warren would double that. Tyler Warren would have 600 plus yards year one, have a whole bunch of touchdowns, and be a bigger threat and give us a better run game. And he's a lot like Bowers in that regard.
Yeah, I think you definitely have to consider another tight end, being that if people aren't familiar, Eric All is going to miss next season. That's how bad his injury is. So Bengals will definitely be down there. I'm going to stick with a Tyler, but I'm going to go with Tyler Booker. And I'm thinking of taking a guy like Tyler Booker in the second round with the 49 pick. I know people are going to hate it.
Oh, yeah, 49.
Jonah Williams, because of Andre Smith. Even though Andre Smith wasn't bad here for Cincinnati. I don't know why he gets such a bad rap because of that. But ever since Jonah Williams put on a Bengals uniform and played for Alabama, and there was that stretch where the Bengals drafted everyone from Alabama and it didn't work out the way that they wanted, people were upset. But the way I look at it as, this is a value pick, right? You talk about a guy like Tyler Booker in the second round or a guy like Donovan Jackson. Those are two guys that I would definitely consider at the guard position taken. Whichever one of them are there. Like, Tyler Booker is still a good player. I think what it is people just don't like Alabama linemen. And I'm like, okay, dog, it's all good. They haven't all hit in the NFL. But there are some that have. I mean, you talk about Landon Dickerson and guys like that. Some people overlook those guys. So if I'm going for a guy that has the production in this class, it's Tyler Booker. And if I can get him in the second round at 49, I'm taking that chance. Him or Donovan Jackson, either one of those guys, I would be comfortable with at 49. Zim, is there any other pick that you have before we get into our mock draft?
Oh, shit. I got a couple. One of them, again, this wouldn't be my pick. A lot in the Ogunjobi mode in this regard, but and you talked about this on your Twitter too. I know what you're going to say, but Derek Harmon. Derek Harmon's another guy that gets into the backfield a lot and it can cause a lot of havoc. That's a guy that I'm paying attention to. If they want to just say, hey, I want a physical, crazy freak that can just jump all over the gym, all over the football field, it would be Jelon Walker from Georgia. He's super gifted. He's got the versatility as an off-ball linebacker. Those are two guys. I think Michael Williams is a lot like Miles Murphy from Georgia as well, or Mikael Williams. But a terrific run defender, not giving you too much of a pass rusher, so to speak, at the very beginning. I'm more so looking for like rushers at the very beginning. And then I don't think he will fall there, but your guy Genty, of course, if he's there, I think that there's a room to say I would go that I could justify it, but it would be so hard to supplement it with you need better offensive line play and you need to be able to run the ball more. But then once you do all that, you don't have enough picks to get better on defense. So to me, that one's tough. The other guy I mentioned briefly was Josh Simmons at the beginning. I think if I think this is my only Ohio State guy. He's really good. I think he's got adequate frame to work in the NFL at tackle, but he could come in as a guard. He is coming off the patella tendon injury. Some people listed as an ACL. I'm a little fuzzy on that, but he has very good foot speed that's different than Booker, who I think is really slow and kind of clumsy to me. But I think Josh Simmons is a guy that can come in and play tackle in the NFL and be able to play guard. The injury concerns might scare the Bengals off a little bit. And my very final one, which I would not be in favor of, is Kenneth Grant. That was a name that came up a lot early on. I would love him in round 2. I've been seeing him get mocked to the Dolphins like in round 1, like over and over and over again. But he has that rare combination.
Him being bigger, is he considered a nose tackle, or you still think like?
No, he's a nose, but I think he's a different type of nose because he has a combination of quickness that, they talked about that with Slayton now. They talk about him being pretty quick for a guy his size. So I don't think that we really need a guy like that. I think you're getting a lot of what you would get from Grant, from Chris Jenkins and Slayton. To me, it's not any different, but that's another guy that I just think. Oh, we didn't talk about Donovan as a rookie from
Boston. Yeah, I like him. Xavier Watts is another guy.
I like him more in a 3-4 though, and I don't think they'll be running him.
Yeah, I like Xavier Watts. That was the last guy that I probably was going to talk about.
I like him in a second.
Safety. Athleticism is a little like not there from what people expected. I think some people expected him to run a little faster, but I think, being that he was of the Malik Hooker kind of ilk, he's got rare on-ball production. I mean, he's already played. He's already played with Al Golden. I know you're not talking with the big physical freaks, bro. Let's not do that. I'm just playing. But I think Xavier Watts is a guy that the Bengals could look at as well. Let's get into this mock draft, bro, because we'll be here all day. We doing
right.
This is like a lap breakdown.
Yeah. I think what we'll do coming up too is we'll be able to show like a little bit of as long as we don't get flagged, I don't want to get flagged, but be able to show a little bit of video of some of these guys like as we get closer and closer to the draft. The Will Johnson one, I know he's supposed to have a private pro day coming up. I'm really curious to see how that goes, being at the Bengals they have a visit with him, so, or top 30. Yeah. They don't like calling it top 30 no more, but whatever they calling it now.
Okay. All right. Let me get this queue up here.
Appreciate everybody, as always, making sure that you tune in to the Wincinnati Pod. If you haven't, please cut on alerts. We're going to do a draft special on the draft day, I believe. We're also going to have something coming up pretty soon where we're going to allow a fan to come on and be able to do a mock draft with us. So make sure you tune in for those details. Shout out to our other show on here too, Bengals Pulse. They've been covering the draft as well, too. So if you feel like we didn't cover enough on our show, they're going to be covering on theirs as well. Shout out to Jake and Mon and Eric. So be sure to make sure y'all check those guys out as well.
Yeah, I also meant to mention this guy's on my list as well. JT Tuimalu from Ohio State.
Yes, sir.
I think, bro, I'm definitely taking him. I mean, the some of the plays that he was able to make, interceptions and stuff like that, I don't think he's getting the credit he deserves in this process. Think he's been kind of overlooked. And I remember watching, I forget who it was I was watching last year, but he was having a field day against them last season when we were watching this tape around draft time. But yeah, he's definitely on my list as well. But let's go ahead and get into draft.
So we're mocking. This is our first mock of the year, Wincinnati. We're gonna start doing these every damn show, probably. First mock. So here we go.
We're on the clock right now. The guys that are on the board are Malaki Starks, Mike Green, Luther Burden, James Pierce Jr., Donovan Ezaraku, Kenneth Grant, Josh Simmons, Emeka Ibuka, Kelvin Banks, Walter Nolen, Michael Williams, Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, who we didn't talk about. I also like him, even though he's at a smaller school.
Yeah, I like him in a second.
All right.
I think those are some of the big names. We've talked about all of those ones just now. Luther Burden is one that we did not talk about for obvious reasons. We just signed the big wide receivers.
Right.
I would be pissed if they did something like that, which they won't. Okay. Even though Luther Burden, y'all, I don't know if y'all seen that interview. He said he'd rather have Joe Burrow throw him the football than any other quarterback in the NFL. That was crazy.
The other thing, Zim, I want to ask you is trading back an option? We kind of talk about the Bengals only having 6 picks. Would you consider moving back, or are you stuck at 17?
Absolutely. You want to trade back right now? There's 8 dudes right there I would take.
Yeah, I think so. So Tampa Bay is a potential team that we could trade with. They have picked 19.
Yeah,
So we
give me
moved
that.
back 2 spots.
Give me that. And then we get pick 53 and 40 and 49.
Yeah,
Oh, hold on.
so let's see what we got here. So if
you're giving 17,
they're saying that it won't be accepted.
Hold
They're
on, all right.
saying
So hold on, give. Oh, it defeats the purpose. We need
defeats the purpose. We need picks. So let's look at who else we have here. Maybe that's a little too close.
Let's see 84. Let me see 19 and 84.
All right, so we got pick 20. We could go pick 21. We could go pick 22.
No, I'm saying put same Bucks, right? Give me 19 and 84. I'm sending them 17.
All right. Yep. It looks like they're going to take that. Should we throw in something else just to see? 157.
Yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's
57% chance. We could always offer it.
I would take that. We're trading back 2 spots. We're gonna get one of our guys.
They accepted the trade. So
now we have 9 picks. I'm sorry. Now we have 8 picks.
We have 8 picks now. All right. So let's resume the draft. And let me see.
So Mike Green is gone.
Mike Green. Yes, it cost us Mike Green. So it looks like Mike Green went right before we picked. So Michael Williams and Mike Green went off. However, we still have James Pierce here. We still have Donovan Azaruku. We still have Malaki Starks. We still have Kelvin Banks, Walter Nolen. We're still good right now.
And for the sake of this, I'm gonna tell you right now, there's a safety. There's a defensive lineman that we both like in the defensive line that I think will be there pick 81, 84. Me and you talked about him prior to this show. I also know that there's a safety I like too, just to give myself a little bit of whatever. Now, James Pierce, to me, is the most talented player on the board, but because of the character stuff,
the character concerns,
I can't do it.
The people in the chat are saying Starks. They saying we should go Malaki Starks.
I'm gonna tell you, when I get to the 3rd round, there's 2 safeties I really love, but for the sake of this is the best player I believe out of all of them in my mind. Is there anybody that you feel? I mean, the Kelvin Banks one, protect Joe Burrow. Remember, we've acquired 2 extra picks, so we can go get safeties later on.
I mean, I would look at Nolen, but there's so many defensive interiors left. I couldn't justify taking Nolen
over. I could justify Walter Nolen over Starks, maybe.
Hold on, let's take a. All right, so first let's look at the positions themselves. So defensive interior. Let's get a clear picture of what's left.
So
you got Kenneth Grant, you got Derek Harmon, Darius Alexander, Walter Nolen, T.J. Sanders. You got Omar Norman.
That's who I'm targeting. Omar Norman a lot is, I think me and you both like him.
Yeah.
I think he'll be there at pick 81, and that would be my justification on not taking Walter Nolen. When you go to look at safeties real quick.
All right, I'm mixing all in guards, safeties, defensive, interior, all in one thing. So Xavier Watts.
So we could get Xavier Watts at pick 49. So if you don't get Malaki Starks, I think he'll be there later. Also, Nick Emmanwori, I think he'll be there at 49 as well.
JT that you can get at edge. I mean, I think I'm gonna be real, bro. Like when we're looking at this, Starks is probably the best pick because we're gambling. If we don't take Starks, then you kind of risk Xavier Watts, and his average drafted spot is 42. So if we get to him, I mean, you can still take Nick too, though. Nick. I mean,
let's not overthink this. You feel as though Starks is the best player. I do too. Let's do Starks. Pierce to me is the best player, but I think the character concerns I can't do it. So
I can't do it. Yeah. Right. So let's go ahead. Yep. We're gonna take Starks. All right. Now
somewhere Burton is just punching the air like, God Damn,
Donovan Jackson was
taken
running right before we picked, bro. Xavier Watts was also drafted. I'm just naming some notable people here. TJ
Jackson Dart goes
Sanders,
to the Jets.
Darius Alexander, Nick went as well. Derek Carmen went
Browns.
to the Chiefers. James Pierce went to Detroit, pick 28 in the first.
Where did Walter Nolen go? I didn't see him.
Don't tell me. Hold on, broski.
I didn't see him.
I didn't see him either.
Somebody must have got him because he ain't there.
Somebody got him.
Okay.
We just missed it.
It must have been right after it.
Tyler Booker went to the Ravens. Yeah. Walter Nolen went to the 24. Vikings, 24.
Okay. All right, let's keep it pushing.
All right, so this is where we're at. Right now, we've got a linebacker up there. We've got Demetrius Knight. We've got Princely.
I like
who's one of the edge rushers. JT from Ohio State that we kind of talked about. He's still out there.
I like Princely over JT.
Elijah Arroyo, Jack Sawyer, who's Omar Norman Lott.
I like him in the third.
But I think we can get him in the third, like you said.
I think Benjamin Morrison is a guy to take a look at, and then also the running back position.
Talked about that.
And then the running backs, there are a bunch of them like Judkins and Henderson that will be there in the third. I'm not a big Scatterbo dude, but if he was there in the third, I'll do it. But let me see tight ends real quick.
Mason Taylor's still there, and Elijah. Okay. I like Elijah Arroyo. I'm a Arroyo.
I like Harold Fanning,
but Elijah Arroyo is more like what we already kind of have in Gesicki, so he's more
exactly. Like Fanning is a lot, I like that too. I like the kid. For me, looking at
Ratledge, this might be too early for him though.
But I would take Ratledge right here. That's what I would go.
Take Ratledge.
I would. It's either that or Princely, the edge.
Princely. All right, let's see. All right, so let's look at the edge room. We got Swinson, got Sawyer, you got.
To me, Princely is one of the last.
Roberts is nice too.
Princely to me is one of the last top of the food chain edge rushers that I like. I think he's kind of finesse. He's more versatile than a lot of other guys. He did a lot of good things at Mississippi though, and
so I think you want to roll the dice. You think we can get Ratledge in the third round?
I don't. I think
we picked up an extra pick, so we got 49. We got 81.
I don't think Ratledge would be there. I would take Ratledge right here.
Ratledge.
You might be right though. Yeah, on this board they got him ranked 91. I wrote it.
We could move. All right, here's what we could do. We could take. All right, here's the thing.
We don't have that much time though. You're doing a lot though. Hold on. We don't have that much.
Okay,
time.
This is what I'm thinking. Could we take Princely, trade up maybe from 81 up
to get Ratledge?
It's up to you though. Or we could take Ratledge now. I guess we shouldn't mess with it. We shouldn't mess with it right now, huh? We should just take Ratledge.
I see Ratledge and Mox all the time in the third, so I got a feeling he might be.
He'll be there. I think you gotta roll the dice, bro.
But in real life, if pick 49 comes around, going by the Bengals didn't do none of that stuff that they were supposed to do, I would take Ratledge right now.
Yeah,
like to me, that's more realistic. Like if you don't, somebody else in real life, somebody else would. Like I don't know what this mock is about to do. I haven't done a PFF mock.
Should we move back more, or is that doing too much?
I just think for the sake of time, I don't know.
Okay. All right.
So, I mean, Princely. I mean, if you don't do Princely, I think we can come back and get Sawyer or somebody like that in the third.
I'm going Princely.
All right, let's go Princely. All right, let's try to trade. Oh, that joint moving. I was about to say we could try to trade up. Ratledge is gone now, isn't he?
Nope, he's there. Ratledge.
Okay, so Ratledge is the pick, and then pick 84. So we got the edge rusher. We got the bet. I love this mock. Go to that D. Go to our D tackle.
Interior still, right?
Oh, and my safety Winston is still there.
Peoples is out there too.
Deion Walker is there.
I like Peoples.
I like Riley Mills in the fish. But
I like Peoples,
D tackle, our guy Norman is gone. Lot is gone.
Yeah, I think he's gone.
Okay, all right.
He would have been higher.
Right
but
there.
Peoples out of Virginia Tech, bro, don't sleep on him. He got a 17.8.
You know my boy is he's a coach at VA Tech. So
what does he think about Peoples?
He likes him a lot. I haven't had a real detailed conversation with him. I think right now though, we got the guard, we got the edge. We riding high. Can I see the tight ends real quick? Ain't the running backs because look.
That's your boy Harold.
I would take Fanning right here. Let me see the running backs. I would take Fanning and say F it. Oh, all the running backs, they're gone. The ones that I like right at the top. There's still some good guys there though. Giddens is, I'm gonna tell you right now, when you go to check him out, DJ Giddens from Kansas State, absolute animal, bro. That's gonna be a guy.
I'm gonna always look at a receiver.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we accomplished so much early on. And for everybody that's listening, this is just a third round mock. We picked up the extra pick, so this is our last pick. Go to corners. Is Morrison still there? So we got the ties. I think he's gone.
No, I think he's gone.
Okay.
I mean, for me, this defensive interior, I feel like we got to snatch one of these guys. I don't like Joshua Farmer like that. That's just me.
I will go Deion Walker.
Deion Walker?
Yep. Sure would. Double back. We got the edge, and now we got the defensive interior.
All right.
I feel like we cooked with that one. I swear.
Malaki Starks.
Somebody got that screen. Somebody screenshot and send that to me. I gotta post that. I like that a lot.
Ratledge, Deion Walker. They didn't like the Deion Walker pick. Top 27% of Bengals drafts, they gave us an A-.
Okay.
Wouldn't be mad at this at all. Like you said, we solved the safety issue, added to the room there, got an edge, moved back, got more picks. I think we did what we needed to do there, which is cook. Speaking of cooking, let's toss it to Midwest Best Barbecue.
Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. They was them hot honey lemon peppers. Now they call T. Higgins, or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. And much love to Mama T, Uno and CTB. MB's got Bengals wings, and now we just added T's. 9 to 5 winning things. Gritty for Uno wings. We say yes, Sirski now. Like Ace and Zim be saying that T got them new wings. Only at MB's. Honey lemon peppers. Now you can call them T's. Honey lemon peppers. Now they call T Higgins. Or you say number 5s. Either way, you'll be winning. It's them honey lemon peppers. Now they call T Higgins. Or you say number 5.
That was nice. I ain't gonna lie.
Shout out to Midwest Best Barbecue. Go get them teas. They got them hot honey lemon peppers. You can call them T. Higgins, or you could pull up and just let them know you want the 5s. Hot honey lemon peppers. Check them out. They got the CTB wings. They got all the wings. Some of the best wings in the Natty. Voted the best wings in the Natty. Don't forget that. Also, the barbecue is right where it needs to be at. They've done rib specials and stuff like that. They do shrimp pop-ups. So definitely be sure to check out Midwest Best Barbecue. You never know who's going to be there or what's going to be served. So make sure you check them out and tell Tim and Nicole that Ace and Zim said hello. Appreciate you guys for rocking with us. If you are watching right now, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We truly appreciate that. Hit that like button. Share this with whoever you can. If you are listening in your car to the podcast, don't hesitate to leave us a review wherever you guys listen to your podcast. That helps other people find the Wincinnati Podcast. We truly appreciate that. Let us know what you guys thought of the mock in the comments. We appreciate that. We love reading the comments. Those comments help us out. Leave as many comments as you want. Tell me if it was a good mock, bad mock, great mock, whatever you want to say, leave it in the comments. Let us know. We love hearing you guys' feedback. Zim, was there anything that you wanted to say before we get out of here?
No, I thought we did a really good job on that mock. That was our first one. We'll probably be knocking them out every single show, but Deion Walker, enormous man, 330 pounds, 6'7". He conditioning they did come up a little bit in some of his stuff, but you know, you get him in the right conditioning coach and everything like that. I think we're good to go. Tell us, like Ace said, after the show in the comments, not in the live chat right here. After the comments, load up the comments with it. Tell us who you would have picked. And we appreciate you all as always. Yes, Sirski.